But I can tell you, you can do it, I did it, and we all can do both. So I would like to start with one big question. Are you acting most of the time from your fear zone or from your joy zone? Did you know that every day you make at least 35,000 decisions per day? Sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, but we make 35,000 decisions per day. And does it come from your fear zone or from your joy zone? And I can tell you, I have all my biggest fears. I have so many different fears, and it's normal. If we are a human being, we all have different fears in our life. And the fears are also changing depending on our life stage, right? And I'm a world champion in ice swimming. And guess what? What was one of my biggest fears? It was the cold, icy waters. Because when I was a child, in a one swimming race, I swam in the sea and it was so cold that I got hypothermia. So I lost my mind in the middle of the sea. And when I woke up, I ended up into the hospital. I was with the electric blanket on my body. So you can imagine that cold water was my fear zone. I never associated cold water with the joy zone. But I can tell you now, if you are able to transform your fear zone into your joy zone, if you can transform your fear zone into your biggest power, then nothing can kill you, nothing can stop you towards your peak performance. And of course, we have a lot of stressors, a lot of stressing factors. It's not easy in this turbulent world to reach the peak performance and to maintain our well-being. If you also see here in this overview, there are so many stressors. We are constantly overwhelmed, constantly have a data overload, and constantly comparing each other, comparing ourselves with others. Yes, there are always happier, better, richer people than us, right? There are always expectations from outside of the world. And in addition to that, our internal expectations to us and to people. And if the expectations are not met, we feel again stressed, we feel again anxious, and again fear. It's a total stressful situation for all of us. And did you know that our attention span gets lower and lower? So here you can see some statistics. In 2000, our attention span was 12 seconds, and in 2013, it was lesser than a goldfish. And now I don't want to check the statistics of 2024. It's getting less and less. And it's not a surprise, right? So even when I check my screen time from last week, my screen time was in average 11 hours per day. So this is insane. So how my brain, how my body can work with 11 hours of screen time and ensure still well-being. So we are in a constantly data overload, and we get at least 100 push notifications per day. So that means our brain is also in an overload. And the question is how we can stop our brain, how we can be mindful and increase also our spirituality and have the soul connection to reach our peak performance. And this is not just the external stress factor, is not the barrier. More than important, our internal barriers are more blocking us, right? So the common mistakes we all make based on our fears, based on our limiting beliefs, based on our childhood or negative experiences, we have all our limiting beliefs. So when I was a small child, as a swimmer, my biggest dream was crossing the English Channel. But after this bad experience to getting hypothermia, as you can imagine, I had all the limiting beliefs. So I talked to myself, I'm not powerful enough, I can't cross the English Channel, I'm too weak, other people are stronger than me, other people can deal better with cold water. I don't have time because I worked more than 12 years as a managing consultant in the Big Four consulting firm. As you can imagine, you are work hard and hard. And even my first boss in the consulting 12 years ago, he said, Denise, if you want to be a successful consultant, you need to stop swimming. You can't be a competitive swimmer and at the same time a competitive, successful consultant. So he had his own limiting beliefs. And based on that, I had my limiting beliefs. I was even scared in the consulting world, in my starting career years, to say that beside my consulting life, I'm a swimmer. I was even afraid, can you imagine? Because of all these limiting beliefs. So that means not my own limiting beliefs affecting me badly, but also the limiting beliefs of other people, of my boss, of my mom, of my dad. When I started to tell my mom after years, after my transformation journey, I decided to cross the English Channel and said, oh, Mom, I want to cross the English Channel. I decided, I have fear, but at least I want to try a relay. She said, oh, you are so successful in the pool. Why you're going to cold waters? Don't do that. It's dangerous. It's difficult. You will get ill. You will get sick. You will have some negative consequences in your job. So don't do it, right? So even my mom, she loves me. She cares me. The most important part in my life. Even she had her limiting beliefs, her fears, and wanted to block me. And this is completely normal. And it's important that we acknowledge what are our limiting beliefs and how we can transform those into action. And despite the limiting beliefs, we go for it and break those limiting beliefs. So when we go also to the statistics, all the limiting beliefs, all the fear causes anxiety, right? And here you can see, which proves also my ideas, the biggest #1 mental disorder, guess what? It's anxiety. Yes, it's normal. In this turbulent world, we constantly try to make other people happy, make our bosses happy, make our family happy. But where are we? What happens with our soul? What happens with our mind? What happens with our body? And you see, the more we have stress, the more we have stressors on our body, we have physical reactions, symptoms. And you know what? I will tell you a story. When I was 14, 15, 16, I was in my peak performance at this time, and I attended the Turkish championships in swimming. And every time when I was in the finals, the final championships, the top 10 competed, I got sick, I got ill. Why? Because you can see it in this graph on the right side. My stress level went up and up and up, and it was so high that my own body sabotaged myself and get ill. So my performance always dropped in the biggest, most important races because I felt stressed. I felt pressure. I had even fever. I can tell you 80% of all my biggest races, I had fever, I had flu, I was ill. And now as a psychologist, after years, I can self-diagnose myself. I put myself so much under pressure that my performance went also first high, I pushed myself. But then when it was so important, I felt so much pressure, so much stress, so much expectations, so much anxiety that my performance dropped down. But guess what? I'm not alone with this fact. When you check the statistics of all the Olympian athletes, more than 60% reach their peak performance before the Olympian races. Not at this day, not at this time. More than 60% it's mental. Whatever we do, it's not physical, it's not hardworking. More than 60%, I can tell you, is how is our mental stage, how is our mental health and our overall well-being. And that's why just working hard, it's not the solution. It's not what brings us the peak performance. Here as well, you can see in this graph, the idealistic stage, how our lifetime should be distributed. But if you also ask yourself, how often do you reach this point that you just work 60% per day? That you still invest time for your development, for your relationships, and for your own mental well-being? I know these statistics reaching and living is hard. I can tell also from my life, 12 years consulting life, maybe 80% of my lifetime I spent for work, maybe sometimes 100%. Sometimes I couldn't see my friends. I couldn't develop myself. But what I can tell you, I always swim. I always prioritized my physical activities because I knew that without physical activity, without doing something good for myself, I couldn't be the best version of myself for others. And this does not mean that you are egoistic. This does not mean that you are lazy. No. The more you prioritize yourself and be the best version of yourself, the more you can serve others. And you can serve the best version of yourself. It's more effective, it's more efficient. And what I'm always telling, out of comfort zone, magic can happen. Why I am telling this? Because sometimes we have the expectations that we need to always in our comfort, right? But the most important part in our life is that feeling comfortable in a discomfort situation. Because let's be honest, life is not always rose, right? Life is not always happiness. Life is not always everything is great, everything is going well. No, life has up and downs, up and downs. But the question is how we can manage crisis, how we can manage sadness, and how we can see the chances out of the comfort zone. So my biggest out of comfort zone experience was also during the pandemic. I was in South Africa, in Johannesburg, completely alone. Lockdown happened. And what I did, 3-4 days, I just couldn't go out. Everything was dangerous. It was in the middle of the pandemic crisis. And my dream was always writing a book. And in this pandemic crisis, I said, okay, I can't change the situation. I can't change the crisis. I can't go out. Let's write my book. And this was a turning point, right? So we can always turn crisis situations, bad situations into our creative energy. It's in our hand. And if you also reflecting yourself, your life, your personality, what makes you strong till now? Where you learned most? Where you explored yourself most? Was it in your comfort zone or was it out of your comfort zone? I leave this question with you. And here you can see a picture of me doing ice swimming. It was a preparation for World Championships. So this was even not my dream. One day, my friend, who is a world champion in ice swimming, he said, Deniz, I'm seeing you are preparing for English Channel. You are going out of your comfort zone. You even wrote the book about out of comfort zone. Why you don't join the World Championships? So I have a German and Turkish passport. He said, no one in Turkey did this ice swim before in this world. If you decide to join the World Championship, you would be the first Turkish woman, so you would be a record holder. And I said, wow, that's not a bad idea. So I need to survive. If I survive, then I will be the world record holder, at least in Turkey. And I decided to start train with him. 3 weekends, he pushed me. I went into 4 degrees of cold water, 3 degrees of cold water. But it wasn't an easy journey, right? Now I'm telling you I was in this water, but it took me 2-3 years of preparation. And the preparation was just not physical. Every time when I went into the cold, I started with cold water showers, with really small steps, cold water showers. And every time, even when I went into the cold water in the shower, my brain said, you will die, go out, open the hot water, open the warm water. So my brain always was sabotaging me and blocking me. So I decided to say, okay, I cannot do just physical training. I cannot push just my body. I need to train my mind. I need to learn how I can control my mind, my body, and my soul. And this is exactly what I want to tell you today. So based on all my different experiences, both in my business life, in my athlete life, if you don't align all the aspects of physical, mental, social, spiritual well-being, then you cannot reach your peak performance. And it took me years and years to understand that. So I studied psychology. I even did a master in psychology. But I can tell you, the journey with my cold water was a next level teacher to me. because I felt it in my soul, in my body, in my cells, the icy, freezing water. And I felt, where are my blockages? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? So it was an immersive experience. And in this journey, I learned we need to be mental ready, whatever we do. More than 60% is mental readiness, is the mental toughness, mental resilience, mental focus. And there is a spiritual journey as well. And for me, it was difficult to start with the spiritual journey as a managing consultant, always under time pressure, having high targets, high goals, always thinking about profit and so on. But 4 years ago, I started with my spiritual coach. She is in Cape Town. And it opened also another world to me, learning to be more mindful, learning to be more in the moment, having faith, accepting that we cannot control everything in our life. We can just focus on what we can control, but there are a lot of things which is out of our control. And also the social aspect, to be in an environment where people love you, where you love them, people who gives you energy, who uplifts you, who are in good spirits. That is so important. And if you reflect for yourself, are you taking care of all these 4 areas in your life? How is your physical stage? Are you the person who is saying, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time to practice? Or are you the person to say, I'm busy, yes, but I prioritize my own physical well-being. I do every day at least 15-minute sports to be active. It's your choice, it's your decision, right? And also the mental power. I started with meditation, which helped me a lot to explore my mental power. I had so much pain to stay focused to some parts. But with this meditation, I practice mindfulness and now know how to control my mind, how to control my limiting beliefs, and just be more in the moment, with faith, with love, and in the joy zone. And all of these aspects sounds so easy, but it's so hard to practice. So we need to practice it every day, right? So I try to do everyday meditation, everyday breathing exercise to also control my breathing, my stress level. Because when you are in stress, when you are in hurry, your heart rate goes up and up as well. But when you are practicing meditation, when you are practicing breathing, then you control yourself, you are getting in a mindful and calm zone. And this is what we can see on the right side, right? It's the harmony of your body, of your soul, and of your mind. And what happened out of comfort zone? So I became 5 times world champion in ice swimming. If you would tell me 5 years ago that I will do a relay in English channel, I would say, no way, that's not me. If you would tell me 3 years ago, I will join the world championship, I would say, are you crazy? I even can't swim in the English channel. But that's how life works. The more you show courage, the more you show faith, the less you put yourself under stress and go in the flow, and also be open for new challenges in your life, and also be open for people, mentors who are seeing your potential and who are believing in you, the more magic will happen in your life. You can't create your peak performance when you're under pressure. You can't create your peak performance when you're constantly in anxiety mode, when you're constantly thinking what other people will think about you, and when you're constantly comparing yourself with others. This ice swimming was a journey with myself. I never compared myself with the competitors. I just said, I want to survive. I want to swim in this 3 degrees of cold water, 500 meters, 8 minutes. The last 100 meters, I couldn't even felt my hands. I couldn't even felt the wall. And I was so afraid to be disqualified because I couldn't feel the wall and I needed to touch the wall to end the race. And this was a journey just with myself, with my spirit. And it pushed me to my peak performance when I was 35. So don't listen to people who are saying you are too old, you are too busy. don't listen to them. There is no age, there is no business. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, and if it's meant to be for you, nothing can stop you. And my biggest dream, as I told you in the beginning, was the English Channel. And at the end, 2 years ago, I decided to cross the English Channel, which means swimming 42 kilometers from England to France, and in 17 degrees. I had a lot of challenges to do that. Physical challenges. I was too thin and the water was too cold. They said me I need to gain 10 kilos to deal with the cold. I need to get fat. And the other challenge was endurance. I never swam more than 10 kilometers. And the third challenge was the energy management. I needed to clearly think and manage not just only my time, but my energy. What gives me energy? What takes me energy? Which people uplifts me? Which people takes my energy? And the second challenge was the mental challenge, my mind games. Every time when I was in this cold freezing water or swimming in the darkness, training in the darkness, my mind said, why you are doing this? Just sit in the couch. Or why you make your life so hard? And also, of course, the fear of sharks, the fear of jellyfishes, the fear of failure. Can you imagine? You're investing a lot of time, a lot of money, and then, oh, you get again hypothermia, or you are so exhausted that you can't do the swim. So all these elements made me crazy. And also the operational challenges, finding time, because I was the senior manager in Big 4 consulting firm. So I had a lot of responsibilities, the time management, the relationship management. So many people want something from you. You need to manage your own energy, your time, your relationships, and everything. But you know what? If you want really something, there are no excuses. And without this holistic well-being approach, I couldn't maintain my endurance. I couldn't increase my endurance, my mental resilience, and I couldn't increase my performance. So I worked on my physical trainings. I worked every day on my mental toughness, which means everyday breathing exercise and everyday meditation. I surrounded myself with really people who are supporting me, who are giving energy. And at this time, I can tell you that I stopped some relationships which were toxic or where I needed always to explain myself. So these are energy blockages, right? So I needed to manage also my social environment. And also the spiritual journey helped me a lot. When I crossed the English Channel, my spiritual coach was with me. She supported me and she reminded me to staying in the moment. I had so many moments where I felt, oh, I can't do it anymore. I will stop. I'm so exhausted. It's so cold. I saw France, but at the same point, I couldn't see France anymore because of the waves. And at some point I thought, okay, I will not reach the shore anymore. It's done. I'm done. But at this moment, she meditated on the boat and I felt again in the moment, and just one stroke by another, I kept continue. So as you can see, all those 4 dimensions helped me to reach my peak performance. And even now, I always practice spirituality, meditation, mindfulness, which helps me to reduce my stress level and increase my energy level. And after crossing the English Channel, I decided to do the Triple Crown, which means swimming in Manhattan, in the New York, the not so clean waters. It was really dirty, the water. I even couldn't see anything in the water. It was like black. I swim there 42 kilometers under 8 hours. I reached my peak performance. I broke the record. And also I swam in Catalina Channel, which means 8 hours swimming in the darkness from Catalina Island to Los Angeles. And there were sharks as well. So maybe you will tell, oh, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? But what made me to do this was my spiritual journey, my faith, my social support system who believed in me, the experts who managed all the risk factors with me and pushed me to my peak performance. So it wasn't just a physical activity, it was the holistic perspective. And what I'm telling also here in my book, so here you can see the model. Most of the time we are in our comfort zone, which is comfortable. And most of the time why we don't go out of the comfort zone is the fear zone. But when we see and acknowledge our fear, we can use it as a compass. So fear is actually becoming your best friend, showing you where you can grow, where you can reach your potential, where you can reach your peak performance. And that's exactly why some people reach their peak performance and why people having the anxiety disorders. Having fear is an energy. You can use the energy for creative purposes, transforming it into your biggest power, or you can turn the fear energy into anxiety. But at the end, it's our choice. It's our choice to stay in our fixed mindset or to go with our growth mindset, to see challenges as a chance to grow. Because no one can say that life will be always good, right? But the most important part is to be in your own peace. And life is so interesting. The more you go your own way, the more you are in line with your own purpose, the more different people come into your life and what it happens, what it meant to be. And this is also showing my spiritual journey. So when I did the English Channel Swim, the World Championships in ice swimming, and published my book of Out of Comfort Zone, the founder of Ice World Championships, Gamba K, came to me and said, Deniz, you write this book, you are going into the ice waters, you are the person who we want to, for the world record ice swim, highest ice swim in the world in Nepal. And I asked myself, is it a joke? Why he is contacting me from South Africa? He knows all the ice swimmers from the world. Why me? And he said, you can write another book about fear. And I'm not a mountaineer. I'm not an alpinist. I never went hiking in the mountains, sometimes just skiing, but maximum 2,000 or 3,000 heights, right? And here they spoke about 6,400 height, the highest altitude ice swim in the world. And after thinking a few hours, my spiritual journey helps me to say, okay, why this request came to me? There is a reason. Maybe I can't see the reason now, but there is a reason behind. And if it's meant to be, then I will be successful on those mountains. So I said, okay, I'm in with faith. I trained 1 month, day and night for this, before work, after work, all my weekends. And at the end, after 18 days of hiking, climbing, we reached the point of 6,400 meters. And I can tell you, at the end, I had just 73% of oxygen level. Can you imagine 73%? When you go to a hospital right now and you have just 95% on your watch, they would tell you you have like COVID or another virus, you need to stay in the hospital. So it was a tough time because dealing with uncertainty was 100% situation for me. I never went into this kind of height. I never know those people. Every people in this group was new for me. It was a South African group. It was an amazing group, but I didn't know them before. So that means I needed to trust them. I needed to trust to the universe that everything will happen smoothly. I needed to trust to the nature. And I needed to trust to my own body, my own soul, and my own mind. Because I completely stepped into the unknown. I didn't know how my body will react, how my mind will react. And in those moments where I felt really upset, fearful, I every day did my meditation practice in the mountain. The last 10 days, we even didn't have any internet connection, no phone connection, nothing. But I every day meditated, did my breathing exercise, and tried to stay calm and positive with faith. Because yes, I could control my emotions, I can control my mind, and I knew that I can't control the external environment. I can't control the weather conditions. I can't control the other people in my environment. So I let it go, all the things which I can control. And I stayed mindful. And you know what? During the hike, every time when I had anxiety about the future, what could happen badly, or about the past, what I could have done better, then I had a real risk of accident. And every time when I just stayed in the moment and just walk, I didn't have any fear. I was so calm. I was more in my joy zone. And that's in our life like that. How many times we are thinking constantly about the future or about the past and missing to be in the moment. And here you can see a short video of this journey. If you want to reach your peak performance, it's not coming from the comfort zone. So we need to learn how to stay comfortable in discomfort. And here I summarized some practical steps for you, for your well-being, because that's the number one. If we don't have our holistic well-being, we can't reach our peak performance. So it's important to establish a healthy routine. So like eating, like drinking, like sleeping, I practice every day, every morning, even if it's just in half an hour.